What's up, everybody? Velociraptor here, and I am joined by the disembodied voice of MajinTenshinhan. How are you doing today?
I didn't get into the Street Fighter 6 beta, but I watched a lot, and we just came out of the weekend of that. I think most people are very energized and excited, right? I mean, you played it. How do you feel?
Oh my gosh, I think I am in the same camp as almost everybody in that I just want to play more. I've been watching videos of people like Fujimura and like Shen who are using the same character as me, Jamie, and doing these things that I didn't realize you could do because there's a bajillion of those things. And I'm like, oh, I want to try that. I want to test that out. I want to get my hands on it and continue to play. But alas, we have to wait till either another beta is announced and we get in, or till sometime in 2023, and I am just sitting here scratching away until then.
Yeah, in a way, I guess I'm more fortunate because I didn't get to taste it, right? So I don't have that longing for it again. But watching it, oh man, I really want to get in there. I was already pretty excited, but watching people play, and I actually did watch a lot of your character, Jamie, because one of my friends who did get into the beta, but lives a little bit too far away for me to actually go there and play, was streaming Jamie in a Discord call, so I got to watch a ton of Jamie, and totally get what you mean about there being a bunch of different stuff there. You could see him, my friend Godflash Thunder, shout outs to him. You could see him like gradually evolve as the weekend went on, and yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, there's so much to learn in this, and there are a bajillion and a half things for us to talk about potentially, but we want to hone in on one thing that everyone's giving this game praise. It very much deserves that, but this was a beta test, and there are things that maybe we want to see altered, tweaked, changed, updated before the actual game rolls out. And something that you and I discussed, Nick, recently, we were like, hey, let's make a video about this. It doesn't seem like anyone's talking about it yet. The difference between level 3 supers and critical arts. Now, for those that don't know, it's basically when you get to level 3, you can launch your hardest hitting super. Now, if your life is below 25%, that super changes slightly, and mainly in animation and usually in damage output. Now, here's the thing. When that animation changes, it sometimes leaves you in a different state than just the standard level 3, and sometimes that state is not as advantageous as the level 3. And Jamie is one of those characters, but so the other one would be Juri. Am I right?
Yeah, and I think Juri is the one where it's easiest to explain, because Jamie, in his case, it's a bit of post-super possibilities. But with Juri, it's so simple, because obviously you get more damage from it being a critical art. So in that sense, it's better, of course, right? Everyone understands that. But the thing about Juri's critical art versus her level 3 super is the level 3 super is her Kaisen Dankairaku, which is her Ultra 2 in Street Fighter 4. So everyone knows what that looks like if you play Street Fighter 4. She does the whole like twirl kick upwards, then you land on her. She like stretches her foot up, you land with your back on it, and then she smashes you into the ground. That's how her level 3 super is now. So because she's smashing you into the ground, obviously you're decently close to her. Not like point blank or anything, but you're at a range where she can reasonably land like a meaty crouching medium kick or something. She has some kind of Oki on you. But when you're at low HP and it becomes enhanced into a critical art, she kicks you away, and you're super far away. Like there is absolutely not even a remote chance you get to do any kind of Oki there. And again, she does more damage, but she gets like, it's crazy how much worse the situation is after. And I saw that and I was like, that's interesting, because sometimes I would prefer the situation over the damage. And I think a lot of players feel that way as well. And you can't choose between doing the level 3 super and the critical art, because if you're at that HP, it automatically becomes a critical art, right? Yep. So seeing that, I was a bit surprised. And obviously, Jamie has a similar thing. I mean, you play him, so you could go into more detail about what the difference is there.
Exactly. And before I jump over to him, the significance of being or of getting Oki after a super is a big deal. If you go back really quickly, please bear with me, to Street Fighter 5. You guys remember that game? There were a handful of characters, especially in the early, like in the early DLC in the base roster, that could get Oki after their super. Cammy comes to mind, and Abigail, just right off the top of my head. And so the general wisdom in that game was you don't use your critical art unless it's going to kill. But if you are Abigail, you would see like Problem X, for instance, use critical art all the time when he had it, because not only was it a huge chunk of damage, Abigail gets a mix-up on your wake-up afterwards, and that was the difference maker into making it worth doing so. And then Cammy's, of course, was a full-screen level 3 super that also gave her Oki afterwards. Oh boy. But anyways, just you remember that, how important that was. So I do think that this is a valid thing to look at. And, you know, you do have to measure, well, how much more damage are you getting for that critical art? Does that by itself justify it? Or is the potential of getting another mix-up really going to be the main thing? And that also depends on the game's meta, how strong it is to be in Oki situations versus if you just want to try to get all your damage from the neutral. There are a lot of questions about the game that we haven't necessarily fully answered yet that will go into this overall answer. But when it comes to Jamie, yes, his regular level 3 launches you up into the air, and he can actually follow up, similar to what we've seen in the past quite a bit with like Yun and Yang, with an EX shoulder or a elbow, and hit you once again. And not only that, but if you're in the corner, you can then do another DP, and I think I've seen players do a drive cancel combo into a pretty good situation. Now, the difference in damage between Jamie's critical art, which is the throat rip thing, and it just leaves you just knocked down. There's no follow-ups afterwards. The difference in damage is almost double. It's crazy how much more damage his critical art does. And I don't know if that's the theme for all characters or not. But so you might argue it's like, well, yeah, you can spend another few bars doing a little extra damage, or you can just take this huge grip of damage and be done with it. But the point is, that is something that I would hope, I think we all would hope that developers are looking at and entertaining, because of how important the decision-making process of do I use the super or not tends to be in these games.
Yeah, and that's where I think it's so weird that you can't, like, because when I heard that your level 3 super becomes a critical art, I assumed it was just a clean damage buff. That's all it was. And these extra animations are really cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, Jamie's critical art is amazing. It's so
I
sick.
think we're going to get tired of it. But yes, the animations are great, but after you've seen it 500 times.
I don't know. I don't get tired of them. If they're cool, I don't get tired of them. I know a lot of people do, but I'm going to be fine with it. As long as they're cool the first time, they're going to keep being cool for me, probably.
Fair enough.
But the fact that you don't get to choose, because you were saying, like, do you want the situation after or do you want to burn the super? You don't even have the choice at this point. Well, you don't have the choice between the two, I should say, since once you're at that HP, it automatically becomes a critical art. So, like, if I was playing Juri, for example, for me it would be like, okay, well, the critical art in my mind would be worth it if it kills. Otherwise, I would prefer, if I'm not going to kill anyway, I would prefer having the one where I can get some form of Oki after, because I would want the situation, right? To get into another situation where maybe I can kill. Especially with how impactful the drive gauge is, where even if you've already burned all your meter, you still have a bunch of stuff that can lead to big damage, right? So the situation is very important in that sense.
The game, it seems so versatile just in its basics, and we haven't explored everything yet, that it's hard to put anything into a box at this point. But like I said, I do think that this is something that Capcom should look at, because the potential for how much this could resonate in the general meta is important. And a character like, you know, say with Jamie, that it turns out that, yeah, it really does kind of suck to lose his level 3 follow-ups for the sake of the critical art, or Juri, or any other characters. I don't know if this is the case for other characters. And if you guys that are watching have seen this with your character and you have something that's related to this, please let us know in the comments, because I want to have this full discussion.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw Twitter videos from Mystic Smash, amazing UK player. He also plays, has great results in Strive and in DNF Duel in particular. He also plays a bunch of Street Fighter, and he was excited about Street Fighter 6. He was also playing Jamie. And the biggest Jamie combo that he uploaded, or like the most damaging one, he needed to have level 3 and not critical art, because the juggle he got after actually tacked on 1000 damage extra, which I assume went further than the critical art in that situation, because, you know, otherwise he just would have done critical art and said, you know, this is the optimal one.
Well, and you could also argue that maybe it's just like them's the breaks, and depending on where you're at, yeah, you fell below 25% and it would have been a better situation, but hey, this is the way the game works and now you have to deal with it. That might just be where we're at too. But
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think that's interesting in a sense because one thing I was very excited about with this, I am very excited about with this game, and which I know I've talked with you off air about, is the lack of a comeback mechanic. And yeah, I mean, this is the closest thing we have to a comeback mechanic, is that it becomes a critical art, right? So you still need to land your supers, same as always. It gets a bit beefier damage-wise. But the fact that there's also a drawback to it, at least for these characters, maybe it's the same with other characters, we don't quite know, but that almost makes it, in a sense, also, while it's something of a comeback mechanic, it's also a bit of an anti-comeback mechanic in a way, and I think that's kind of interesting. So I'm not necessarily saying, this needs to be changed. I just thought it was a very interesting part of the game, and I haven't seen people react to it that much yet, obviously because there's way bigger stuff to look at right now.
Sure. Well, but now we have turned the people on to this particular possible issue, or at least topic of discussion. So if you have any input on it, like I say, chime into the comments below. Let us know if you've seen anything like this. It doesn't have to necessarily just be with supers and critical arts. But man, we're having a lot of fun speculating, exploring, looking back over the footage of Street Fighter 6, and oh man, that release date cannot come fast enough.
Definitely, yeah. I want to actually play the game,
Yes, so Nick can play it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this video on the official EventHubs YouTube channel. If you like it, please give it a like, give it a comment, give it a subscribe, and so you guys can know when we're posting more content like this. And Nick, thank you so much for joining us for this.
Thank you for having me, and as always, play Granblue.
Play Street Fighter 6 is what's up. I don't think you need to tell people, but yeah. And you can also play Granblue while you wait. Fair enough.